Hey guys, Damien from Marketing Food Online, and tonight's podcast, I am actually going to discuss something that's very rapidly growing, very, very quick. It is actually using food trucks for wedding events and catering events, and let's jump right into it. Hey guys, all right. So as I mentioned in the introduction, I want to get into a really cool topic, and it's actually very trendy right now. And it's something that's caught on, and I don't believe it's going to be going away anytime soon. And it's actually using food trucks to cater weddings, specifically weddings, and of course you can cater pretty much any type of event. But the rapid growth and the love affair that brides and grooms now have with the food truck is something that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. And really quick, and before we get into it, I wanted to let you guys know it's definitely a good thing to hit that subscribe button. If you are looking for any information in regards to starting a food business from home through the cottage food laws, or if you're looking to start a food business or create a food product to get into retail shelves or even online, Marketing Food Online is definitely the YouTube channel for you. We discuss all types of food businesses and how to get your product into customers' hands. And if you're just starting out, there's always consulting, and of course I can help you guys along the way. And you can check out marketingfoodonline.com, and that has a fantastic variety of consulting packages. Whatever your budget is, we can definitely get to help you out. So let's jump right into it. Some really quick statistics. This is something that kind of blew me away, and it was something I found out recently about as far as how wide this was. But I'm not sure if you realize this, but the wedding industry, just the U.S. alone, is nearly $60 billion business a year. And it's shocking to know the average wedding has, on average, 140 plus guests. And that kind of blew me away when I found out these statistics. And I came across a neat article, and then a friend of mine who operates a food truck was mentioning to me that they were doing a wedding, and I got to thinking about it. So I dug a little deeper into it, and it's become this huge segment of the food truck industry is food trucks who are catering now to weddings. And on average, by the way, the average cost that a caterer will be paid, well, actually, I'm sorry, the caterer will be paid, the average cost for the bride and groom per guest is over $70 plus, which makes a huge opportunity to utilize a very small space, such as a food truck, and to prepare a catered meal that you can bring to this event and make a killing. Even if you were to get around that $50 or $60 price point and you've got 100 to 200 guests, you can easily make a ton of money via a food truck catering these types of weddings. So, and based on the average size, by the way, of a food truck, you can actually feed up to about 70 to close to 80 people, depending, of course, on a lot of factors as far as the size. But the average food truck can actually have the capacity to do that, and that is really some big-time money. So how does this work? And exactly what would you do to set yourself apart? So something that's really, really unique about weddings is that you can really cater to unique and individualized and customized menus. And the best way to go about it is to work with a client to figure out what is the most simplistic type of meal or the most easiest type of product that you can prepare from a food truck. As you may or may not know, many of food trucks actually prepare a lot of the food prior to going out. They'll use commercial kitchens and kind of prep all of the ingredients prior to going to food truck rallies or going to an event. So they're more or less piecing together the meal. Once you get it as a customer or as a consumer, you're actually getting that actually from the truck, most of the time pre-made. Now, that's not all cases, of course, depending on the food truck and what type of equipment they have inside, what type of staff, and all of that, and depending also upon the type of food that they're serving. So do keep that in mind, that it's going to be a lot of the profit and the margins that you can make doing this type of business is going to be dependent upon how much you're spending in either a commercial kitchen or spending prior to getting to the event. So let me hop into a few tips and tricks on how this actually works. And if you're interested in starting a food truck, this may be the type of business you want to do, or even the type of clientele you want to cater to, because you definitely know that weddings are happening every single day. And there's a multitude of events that happen around weddings, between bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, the bride and the groom, they do a lot of different things prior to the wedding. So you could even take advantage of helping out with those events prior to the wedding day itself. So here's a couple of reasons why a bride and groom would consider using a food truck and for the wedding day, and basically what would be the selling points for you to promote it and to pitch it to potential clients. So, the funny thing about food trucks is that it's kind of like a buffet meal service on wheels in a sense, but it's more of a modern alternative to just a traditional table setup where you're going to be serving food on a table where people will be coming to get their products. So if you're looking for like something unique, a unique twist to traditional wedding receptions, you can utilize a food truck in a way that would be really unique and something memorable. Now, it really lends itself perfectly to outdoor events, and of course, spring and summer are coming, as you know, and of course, during the summertime, there's a tremendous amount, and even early fall in some parts of the country, there's some fantastic outdoor ceremonies. And bringing into a food truck into that scenario is something that would leave a memorable mark for everybody who participated. Catering a wedding with a food truck also means it's easier cleanup. When it comes to the time for their food, traditional means of setting up tables and warming pans, and you've got all of this pots and pans and dishes, cutlery and all that stuff. If you're utilizing a food truck, it makes it simpler and easier and less time for you as the caterer in a sense, because you're not having to clean all that up. You're utilizing your truck. So it's in essence, basically, once you're finished, you can clean up the truck itself or whatever you've got around the truck, drive off, and then you can kind of do that on another place or another area. But it makes cleanup much easier. So that's even better for you as a food truck operator. So one of the other things is that food trucks can give wedding guests a wider variety of food to choose from, especially if the budget is limited to dinner, to one choice of a plated meal or something with a catering company. You've got basically everything you can serve onto one plate. Of course, remember that the serving itself of the food is totally different. So the entire ambiance, the entire experience for everybody is going to be totally different. And you could pretty much do that on a one plate type of thing instead of having multiple plates and having all of this stuff that you've got to clean up. The other great thing is that your food is made to order, which gives your meal service a more personal touch when it comes to more than a traditional catering. So it's kind of like a freshly made thing. So it's not something that you're going to be sitting there warming up, like I mentioned before, in warming trays, and the potential for that to not be warm, and then the quality of the food. Everybody gets served, as it's made to order. So that's another aspect that a lot of people don't realize that's really great about food service or food trucks for these types of events. Now, there's a few different ways that you can drive additional revenue and make even more money. And I'm going to go through a list of a few things that you can do to kind of customize it, even though you're utilizing a food truck. Offer to use containers that the bride and groom can pay to have personalized, something that's got like a monogram or initials on it. So if your food truck, let's say, was working with cupcakes or something like cookies or something to that effect, put them in packaging that you can actually customize, and you can charge an additional fee for that. Your truck may be offering something that's of sweets or something that they can take home as favors. So by doing that, not just selling just the food portion, but offering an additional party favor or wedding favor, that's more revenue for you, and that's something that you can bring along in the truck as well. Now, the other thing is always keep in mind different levels of service that you can provide for your bride and your groom. Now, of course, this will be dependent upon their budget, but working with your client and figuring out, we've got different sets of level based upon your budget or what you've got available. You can offer higher end fine dining food, something that's really more expensive as opposed to something that's inexpensive and cheaply made, or even just on a lower end as a budget. Have that available and have that be something that you can offer your clients. One of the other really major things that you need to be aware of when you're utilizing a food truck to cater events, always keep in mind the weather. That is something that is a big, big factor, of course, because your entire serving and process is actually outside. And it's normally meant for those days when you've got obviously great weather and you can do it. But do keep that in mind. That could be something that could potentially arise and cause a huge problem or a hindrance for your service because of the fact that you're serving it from the truck. So keep in mind the weather as well. Now, before you actually, the day of the wedding, you're obviously going to meet with the bride and the groom, and you want to meet with those clients, and you want to do a tasting, and you want to kind of let them know how are you going to present it, show them how the truck not necessarily works, but show them how the service is going to be. Let them be aware of all the dynamics that are involved with you serving from a truck, because it is a completely different experience, and you want to make sure your clients are it's spelled out for them 100% so they understand that. But keep in mind that the whole purpose of what you're doing is to pitch them an experience that's going to be totally different for their guests and them, and that you need to be flexible with the idea of creating customized wedding menus, meals, and maybe even desserts or even a late snack or something to that effect throughout the entire reception. So keep that kind of aware of all of those different parameters when it comes to offering your clients the food. But the idea is, bottom line, you want them to enjoy the experience and have it through your food truck as opposed to a traditional table setting and then warming trays and all of that, as I mentioned before. So really pitch it as an experience for them and their guests. And then make sure that everything, you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, making sure that also that the area that you're going to, the event where it's going to be held, you got to make sure that you've got all of the right permits and you've got the permissions, of course, to be parking a truck wherever that reception may be. These are some of the other technicalities, the things that you need to be aware of. It's great doing these because you got to also keep in mind that it needs to coincide with the reception hall or the reception place that they're at. If it's a park or if it's a church or wherever it may be, or if it's near an event planning area, you want to make sure that you've got the permits and things that allow you to serve those food there. So double check with the county and the city in regards to what they're going to require you to have. And of course, that goes without saying, because anywhere that you park a food truck and you're going to start serving food, you want to make sure that you're covered with that you're not going to get any fines or you get tickets or even being asked to just close up shop and take a hike. So make sure that wherever you and the clients agree upon, that it is allowed to even have a food truck, because it's one thing to cater an event inside of a building, right? And it's one thing to cater an event where you're allowed to do that in certain catering halls or reception halls, but outside is a totally different thing. So make sure you keep that in mind as well. Now, the other great thing that is fantastic about doing this is that when you want to promote it as far as marketing your services. Of course, weddings are great because you've got, potentially 100 to 200 guests, and those are potential customers who could use you for another event. So make sure that you are promoting your food truck when you're at a wedding reception, and you've got tons of business cards and tons of information about how they can contact you, and encourage the guests to take a lot of pictures and selfies and things and post it to Instagram and tell them they've enjoyed the food through whatever truck. And make sure that you push that, okay? Because that's a huge part of promoting your food truck. And that is fantastic because, going to an event that's got a couple hundred people, even if you've got 50 or 60 of them that end up signing something with you for their event or even an event for their company or a corporate event, that's a great word of mouth. And of course, the experience you give them is what's motivating them to come back and do business with you. So make sure you have enough business cards and enough information that they can contact you, because that is the way you grow that business. And never, ever allow yourself to be short of any type of materials, brochures, etc., that you may need to promote yourself. Always take advantage of those big events, because that is why they're there, and that they're huge pluses and great ways to grow your food truck. So I hope that was some great tips on how to use your food truck for wedding events. And I'll see you guys on the next video or the next podcast. Do take care.